Regional forms are my favorite mechanic in the new Pokemon games. Each new region surprises us with variations, new faces of creatures we know or thought we knew very well. But the Paldean forms certainly were not enough. Being overshadowed by the paradox and new convergent species, there are few, and some even disappointing, compared to what we saw in Galar and especially in Hisui. So I hope that the regional forms will return in the new DLCs, as it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to take this concept to the next level with the new zones to explore. Today I bring you my ideas of new Paldean forms for the future expansion pass. As you may not know, I'm from Spain. Paldea is based on my own culture, so I hope you can enjoy the stories, origins, and designs I have created for them. But now, make yourself at home, because even a region like this one, the name of which I have no desire to call to mind, brings with it stories whose meaning becomes more precious with the passing of generations. Everyone knows the malicious and shady Pokemon Murkrow, who has always been seen as a bearer of misfortune and disaster. Its mischievous nature and taste for stealing valuable objects makes it even less beloved. A bird of ill omen, you could say. But another characteristic of it is its huge intelligence. Murkrows understand the human language perfectly, and it would be this trait that would change everything in this region. There was a time when storytellers and troubadours began to flourish, telling stories of legendary heroes fighting for justice in the city squares. Many Murkrow would come to try to steal valuable objects from the locals while they were distracted, but some of them would stay to listen to the stories, seduced under the moonlight by those ideals and principles, radically changing their behavior and so giving rise to Paldean Murkrow. Captivated by the deeds in books of chivalry and wanting no more, it embarked on its great adventure. Murkrow put its ideals before anything else and built its improvised armor with shiny metal objects it stole in its former life. We could consider it a romantic Pokemon to the point that to emulate its admired ones, it becomes much clumsier in battle, as its armor is so poor that it's more of a problem than a help. Although it may sacrifice speed, it compensates by increasing its determination. Because it has something to fight for, it doesn't hesitate to defend what it believes in, even if it involves imaginary enemies. Like windmills, typical around the wild areas of the region, this Pokemon insists on attacking them as if they were ferocious giants, making the locals hate this Pokemon for causing damage to these structures, so important for obtaining food. What no one expected was that it was not so crazy and its crusade was somewhat justified. Before the appearance of the terrifying Paldean Duraludon, this evil Pokemon took on the appearance of a windmill to go unnoticed. Its abilities also resemble those of a windmill, as it accumulates wind energy with its blades, and when it has stored enough, and everyone's guard is down, it rushes through villages to snatch their food. Its gusts of wind are so devastating that a single one could blow through a mountain in a single blow. It can also use its blades to fly at high speed and flee after its misdeeds. Disguising itself as a windmill and quickly disappearing after its attack, Duraludon is rarely seen, so most people consider Murkrow an annoying and deluded wanderer determined to fight a non-existent enemy. At the same time, however, its uncompromising defense of values that no one stands for these days is seen as admirable to a few, who often make room for it. If an exceptional trainer were to train it, Murkrow might be able to defeat its mortal enemy, in which case something extraordinary would happen. By leveling up, having defeated a Duraludon, Murkrow becomes the new Doncrow, exclusive to the region. Its tattered appearance is greatly refined, turning it into an epic piece of armor. It spends its last days fighting for what is right, and its strength is matched only by its courage. In the wild, it likes to take a disciple to accompany it on adventures and learn from it to come back down to earth. Doncrow will not hesitate for a second to die for the people it loves and the values it fights for, which is why it's considered a crazy and reckless Pokemon. But what greater madness can there be than to be destroyed by any other weapon than the hands of melancholy? Let's move from the epic adventure of the windmill blades in the grasslands of the region to the heart of its great cities and villages. The crowd witnessed with admiration and clapped when they saw a huge Pokemon. Or maybe not. Phalanx came to the region to serve as experts in military training in the many bloody wars that raged the country in the past. Being experts in military training were great allies. However, in times of peace, these skills no longer work, and the species used their communication, coordination, and intelligence to survive, making street shows, one on top of the other, forming high towers of incredible acrobatics. The first kois, or groups of people who would imitate its behavior, were born in this way and became a tradition in the region. So little by little, this new form of phalanx would appear and become common because, against all odds, it would be surprisingly skillful in battle. Having to carry most of the time all the members of the group, it would increase its physical strength, and by retaining that battle instinct from their wartime past, it would be able to make quick adjustments in formation to their advantage in combat. If the structure were to collapse, they would rebuild it in an instant. A Pokemon that overcomes its bellicose and bloody past would start to have fun, which would show its true abilities. With always the smallest at the top, over time it has evolved into having a great vision, acting as the eyes of the group with the dream of reaching even higher. Perhaps if they were to return home someday, they could finally touch the sky. The skies of the region are full of many birds, some new faces and others vaguely familiar. Like the Paldean Talo, a brownish-winged variety that attacks by tracing a boomerang-shaped trajectory with its flight, striking a second time as it returns to its starting point. In battle, its interesting ability makes the damage of contact moves half but hits twice, so it's very useful to deal with substitutes and focus bands. Its characteristic move, a flying-type U-turn, is also very appreciated by expert trainers. In the same way that Talo is based on a swallow, this variant is based on a swift, a bird found in the Iberian Peninsula that is often confused with the swallow itself, distinguished precisely by the characteristic boomerang shape of its wings. But that fame of a Pokemon that always, no matter what, comes back is not only due to their body shape or fighting style. They are extremely loyal and intelligent, which makes them commonly used as messenger birds, as they know they will return home when their job is done. Unfortunately, the skies of the region are dangerous and some perish along the way, falling prey to more powerful bird Pokemon, but not even the cruelest death can bend their loyalty. The Paldean Swellow is reborn as a ghost with an unfinished business in this world, to transmit the message it was entrusted with and to come back home with the answer, to warn of the coming danger, or on the other side to see the happy face of its trainer at the good news, then fade away and finally rest in peace. It acquires supernatural speed and enhances its original combat style with its new, more powerful and sharper wings. All traits with which it was reborn are precisely to fulfill its mission on its return from the afterlife. But this is not always the case, as Swellows who are reborn and discover that their trainer has already passed away will wander the world forever as wandering souls unable to rest in peace. Only a new trainer who accepts it as such and gives it all their love and understanding can soothe its heart. Besides the bird, can anyone say which famous Spanish poem this Pokemon is inspired by? But everything, sooner or later, comes to an end. And what else could make our journey more meaningful than knowing that it will end? This is the last legend I have for you today of one of the most revered beings in the region. Years ago, in a far kingdom, a young princess lived with her heart plunged in the deepest loneliness. As a future queen and isolated from the rest of the children, in fact, many approached her. There were always people around her because of her status, but far from helping her, they made her feel even more lonely and misunderstood. The only thing that soothed her sadness was reading legends and stories of the Pokemon world, so she escaped with books from the palace library every night to her favorite place, the beautiful rose garden of the kingdom. For this reason, she became a great expert on legends, lore, and tales from all over the Pokemon world. But one night, somebody unexpectedly discovered her. A beautiful Dragonair appeared in the garden, attracted by the flowers, and from then on, it began to keep the girl company every night. She told it all the legends she was learning, and was amazed at the Pokemon, soothing her loneliness and making her truly happy, since for the first time, she would experience a truly pure and selfless friendship. But one night they were discovered. When the palace guards saw the Pokemon next to the girl, they thought it was sent by the enemy to abduct her, so they attacked it mercilessly, causing the scarlet red of its spilled blood to merge with that of the roses, who wordlessly witnessed the scene. The world collapsed for her. For the first time, she had had a real friend and felt she would never be the same again. Now, without its company, the garden felt like a horrific and wicked place. Everything was dark and meaningless. Until they met again. A Scarlet Dragonair was reborn from the blood spilled on the roses, which had also accompanied the girl and Pokemon so many nights, listening to all those stories with them. Their vital energy and the desire to see each other again became one and materialized in this being of overwhelming strength that, together with its companion, would go all over the world, learning for themselves into all those myths that they had only seen in books before. Because if you follow the legend, you become the legend. This is the legend of the mythical Pokemon that, looking like a rose, flies around the world learning and sharing its knowledge. It's a symbol of culture, love, and understanding. And on the day in its honor, it's a tradition in the region to give books with red pages made from rose petals to loved ones. The Scarlet Dragonair embodies the tale of Sant Jordi, a legend of a brave knight's battle with a fierce dragon to save a town in Catalonia. The story tells of a rose born from the dragon's blood, a symbol of hope and new beginnings, and is celebrated with the exchange of books and roses on April 23rd with loved ones. And those were my ideas for more possible regional forms that I hope the future DLCs will bring. If the video blows up enough and you give it a lot of love sharing and liking, maybe I'll consider making more parts with some more stories. You can share them in the comments, and if you want more, give yourself a marathon of all the videos about Scarlet and Violet that you have on the channel. Be nice.